All right, everyone, welcome back into another PGA DFS video. As you guys know, we had a weather delay for round one of the Memorial Tournament, so going to be a little bit different of a video here because, well, not going to be able to give you guys the winner like we were able to last week again with Jason Kolcrack. I think he was the third or top five in that showdown model that we have for you guys. That's been highly predictive of who's going to win after round one. You know, that might not be as accurate today. And then we're also going to be going over some round two showdown picks. But once again, with that weather delay, it's going to be a little bit different. You know, all those players should go out and do well, but just kind of a reminder for you guys that it might be a little bit different with this one. Maybe you just don't want to attack it as much, just given the fact that round two might roll into Saturday morning as well. It's going to be a little bit of a sweat, a little bit of a cut sweat there. It's going to be a long one, I should say. So got some interesting stuff going on for this tournament. Kind of fun, a little bit different, I guess, if you will, but let's get into it. So right now, it's a very interesting week. The core plays are looking pretty good right now, which were Corey Connors, who, you know, kind of had a bad round one, but I think he's going to be able to pull through. Neiman, +2 right now, actually, so maybe not. But the other one was Morikawa and Victor Hovland. Those guys both look good. Should mention that Colin Morikawa was popping up on the round one showdown leaderboard as well. He was rated top 6, I think, in that. So if you're someone that does first round leader bets, you could definitely go and, you know, check it out that way. Some of the other players on the high exposure range on the 9-5 player pool definitely have to step it up a little bit, though. I have Strillman, Billy Horschel, Charlie Hoffman, Keegan Bradley, and Matt Wallace on the high exposure plays. And then from there, like mid exposure, low exposure, and values are all doing pretty well. I think they're all going to make the cut. You guys know a lot of the values I were on. It was Troy Merritt, Martin Laird, Kyle Stanley, and Brendan Steele. Brendan Steele went out and shot a -3. So, you know, if you had paired maybe some of those value plays up with some of those higher end plays that, you know, like Colin Morikawa and like John Rahm, you know, you're probably sitting pretty good. So very interesting. Kind of tough to predict where we're at right now, but overall, kind of feel good about it. It's a week where we're going to see a lot of lineups not get 6 for 6 across the cut line, and that's something I can pull up here. So just looking at the cut sweat here on 9-5 Sports, we got it pulled up. So currently 15% of lineups in single entry GPP contests have 6 for 6 across the cut line. The norm is 5 out of 6 right now. But once again, the first round isn't even like over with yet. So kind of crazy there. 4 out of 6 is 31%. And then let's go to cash. Cash is sitting right around 14% for 6 out of 6. And then, you know, everyone's teed off right now. So, you know, once kind of everyone gets their full round in there, I expect this fully to go to more of like 9%, maybe even 5% there for 6 for 6 across the cut line, both in cash and in those single entry GPP contests. Just very interesting, something to look at, something I enjoy looking at, but it's very tough to gauge kind of where we're at. I'm kind of expecting that the cut will fall to right around +3 come Saturday morning, which sounds weird to say, but I think that's what it will be. We'll kind of just have to wait and see, but kind of looking over some of the quick cut sweats right now. Neiman starting off, Corey Connors, Patton Kazire, Hideki, Cameron Smith. Obviously, Keegan's going to need to have a really good round, +6. And what did we learn, guys? What did we learn? We learned that whenever Keegan Bradley is chalk, you just get a little bit worried about it. I know I put out a couple of tweets with Keegan pretty much saying that it's the meme where I don't fear any man. But that thing scares me. And it was Keegan Bradley chalk. It just, whenever he's chalk, he seems to not do well. But just kind of going over some of the ownership here as well, just kind of looking at it right now. Victor Hovland was the most owned player, I believe. Then Tony Finau. Oh, it's Tony Finau slightly. And then Victor Hovland, you know, it depends which contest. Then Xander, Charlie Hoffman, Keegan, Kyle Stanley, which really shocking to me. Okay, we had the free square Vincent Whaley last week, who was, you know, kind of just the best value option that week, where this week, a little bit different. We had a decent amount of good value plays. I mentioned Brendan Steele earlier. Pretty good value play compared to last week. So it's very shocking to see Kyle Stanley get up that high when, you know, we had a decent amount of value plays to go with. I think a lot of people, it was like FOMO, fear of missing out. You know, they missed out on Whaley last week, and they had it for us, Kyle Stanley. And Grillo, Louis Oosthuizen, Kevin Strillman, Colin Morikawa, Fitzpatrick, Connors, Reed. So there's a lot of like chalk that actually could miss. Tony Finau sitting at even par right now. Xander's playing well. Keegan's probably not going to make the cut. Just some interesting stuff looking at that ownership. But let's pull up that live leaderboard. We'll give you guys that breakdown right now. All right, so we got the leaderboard pulled up here. We can see Collin Morikawa, doing really well. He was a guy that was on the betting card. Core play, second best in the model. He's in first place right now. He's a guy you easily could have ended up on as a first round leader bet. Xander Schauffele, top 8 in the model. John Rahm, first in the model. Justin Thomas, 15th. Kind of the big end guys are doing well. It's kind of the crazy part is you got some of these lower end guys. I mentioned Brendan Steele as a value play. Top 47 in the model. The only reason I was able to end up on him as a pick is mostly the fact due to price point. He's kind of checking all the boxes too as well. Christian Benzudenhout, decent price point as well. Ended up on him as a lower exposure play. Other than that, kind of weird. It's just hard to really gauge how everything's going right now. A lot of these players aren't through the rounds yet, so we just kind of got to wait and see how round 2 closes up, because it's going to be a long day. So just kind of interesting there. Kyle Stanley popping up, -1. Okay, Chris Kirk. I was actually really shocked that Chris Kirk wasn't more owned than he was. 3%, guys. This guy was chalk last week, which is crazy to me. I think a lot of people realize that they kind of made a mistake last week with, making him chalk. I know each week is different and you got to play the week that's presented, but it's kind of crazy that he went from being, chalk last week to, very low owned, and nothing really changed with him as a pick. That was very shocking to me, actually. But let's get into some of the round 2 plays. Let's look at that round 2 regression. Now, once again, this is going to be kind of tougher to predict. Okay, we can see Billy Horschel really due to regress. Joaquin Niemann, if he continues to play poorly, he's going to be right up there. And either way, I think he's going to be a great round 2 pick. Corey Connors, same thing. He's going to be a great round 2 pick. Don't know about Bubba, but Hideki I would like as a pick. We got to see how Patton Kizzire and Seb Straka close out. Keegan Bradley, definitely expect him to go out and have a better round. 9th best player, or 9th most likely to go out and have a good round. So we kind of got a good picture of what's going on here, just kind of progression-wise. Charlie Hoffman, as it sits right now, would be a decent play. Troy Merritt could be someone you get some value with. Let's see, anyone else really popping up? No, not really. Let's check out that round 2 rankings here. We have a decent amount of people. Some players are tied here. That's kind of crazy. So Louis Oosthuizen, Tony Finau, Joaquin Niemann, and Hideki are all tied right now for round 2 ranking. Now, obviously, this is going to change once the round's finish. I just want to keep repeating that. But as it sits right now, they're looking like great picks. You got Victor Hovland popping up there as well. Stuart Singh possibly. But I really like going with, if Niemann does struggle potentially, Niemann, it's different, though, because they're not going to bed. They're playing that next round that same day. For a lot of these guys, they're going to be having to finish up their round 1. So it's a little bit different. Typically it's easier to predict when someone will go out and have a better round. A lot of these guys I sort of expect to go out and have a better round in the morning, finishing up their first round. So very interesting there. I would almost rather favor the guys like Corey Connors, that those guys that already finished out their rounds. I'd kind of rather go with those guys, because they're probably going to get that Saturday tee time as well, or in the morning, that Saturday early morning, kind of closing out the rounds, maybe 9 holes or so, maybe 7 holes or so. Very interesting there. Don't mind that, but for the most part, I feel pretty good about what this is telling us to do here. Even Kyle Morikawa popping up there right now. And we'll see about that. Just kind of interesting, because I do think favoring that Saturday morning tee time to close out round 2. Not going to be a bad route to go, but we can kind of just see who's popping up there. Let's get into who's most likely to win, and then we'll get out of here. So no surprise there. Collin Morikawa popping up here. First most likely to win. That makes a ton of sense. Xander Schauffele ranking out second. Then John Rahm. Then Justin Thomas and Emiliano Grillo. Shane Lowry. Tony Finau. Bo Hogg. Matt Wallace. And then Max Homa. So, if this actually held up to be true, like these were the top end guys finishing the round, I would say this is pretty accurate. Those first 5 guys, I would say that's going to be pretty accurate as a whole. Morikawa, Xander, Rahm, JT, and even Grillo, I think he'll still be in the top 10. Those other guys that are there will probably fall off a little bit. We'll have to wait and see, though. Like I said, guys, this is a very unique situation. So just to recap here, I'm just kind of looking at it, kind of a crazier week ownership-wise. We saw a lot of people do kind of much more riskier builds, I think, this week, because there's a high number of 6-for-6 Lancer across the cut line last week. So people kind of adjusted that way for some sort of strange reason. I don't really get it, but that's kind of the route that people chose to do. And then just looking at the showdown, I kind of like to favor the guys that had the morning tee time on Thursday, because they might get a nice tee time on Saturday as well. Those other guys that are going to be playing are going to have to do 2 rounds in a row, and you can't exactly predict their outcome as much. You know, typically it's very easy to predict how well someone's going to play. Given that, you know, next round, you can typically, they go to bed, sleep on it, you can typically gauge how well a guy's going to play the next day. We just don't exactly have that. So, you know, I like those guys that already finished out their rounds. I mentioned Corey Connors, really like him as a pick. Heck, Keegan Bradley, I think he's going to be a solid pick for us for round 2 showdown. And then just kind of mention some of the other names that I kind of talked about already. Billy Horschel is another one that I really like. End up being a high exposure play. You could definitely end up on him as well. But that is all I have for you guys for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Got a cool new end screen here for you guys. Maybe. We'll see. Let's see if you guys like it. Kind of more of your standard end screen, but I think it kind of pops. It looks good. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give me a like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing.